Richard Johnson, thanks for joining us. Jono, we're here ahead of the Glamorgan game. First and foremost, let's kind of pull the bones out of the Kent game, I guess. Again, we lose the toss, yet we get through that. We're in the game after 2 days. I guess you must be hugely frustrated that things unravelled on that third and what proved to be the final day.
Yeah, definitely. Again, 2 games running. Obviously, the toss, probably would have played a part in the game, but from losing it and batting first in tough conditions, I think again we showed some real fight and character to get to a decent first innings score. I think probably going into that second day and you look at the wicket, you started to see a change. Definitely less sort of zip to the wicket and bounce to the wicket as the day wore on towards the second half of that day. And then obviously by the third day, it was, I'm not sure I've seen a wicket change quite so dramatically as that did first to third. But saying that, still with 300 on the board to chase, 320, 15, whatever it was to chase, you're in the game. And if we'd taken our chance at various times, then I'm sure we would have made more of a fist of it. But yeah, I think coming out of Kent and Lancs with 1 draw and a loss, it doesn't feel like we've really got our rewards for some really good cricket that we played in those sort of 7 days. So it feels very disappointing for the team, but we know how much good cricket we've played, and if we can continue to do that and just highlight some of the key times in those games, that if we actually want to be that first division side and competing in the first division at the top, you've got to realise those little periods of time and really stamp your authority on the game at that point. For example, 70 for 6 in the first innings.
Yeah.
Little things like that. You should be bowling out for 120. We know that as a group, and we've got to be better at doing that. But overall, from those 2 games, we think we're in a really good space, but we're not getting the results that we feel that we maybe deserve. But we've got to work harder at making sure it happens.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously the toss in both games. I'm assuming, I know for the Lancashire game and I'm assuming for the Kent game, you win those tosses, you bowl first. Green deck certainly at Canterbury.
Yeah.
For that we can consider ourselves pretty unlucky.
Yeah, and I know, look, I've been quite open about why we bowl first the last few years with the bowling attack that we've had. We're quite comfortable now to bat first if the conditions are right. With Zafar in the team, it does make a difference having that senior spinner being able to win a game for you on that last day as well. So it's not about that, it's more about the fact that conditions were right to bowl first in those first 2 games. And I think, if we'd had that opportunity, it might have been different. But that's here by there. We still played good enough cricket to have put ourselves in a position to win the game anyway, and that's the great character of the team at the moment.
Absolutely, as you have, and I think as Toby did in his close of play interview, summed it up quite nicely, which is 2 very disappointing results, but some really good positive performances to come out of it. One of those, I guess, is Blake Cullen, who's for a young man, has been plagued with some pretty nasty injuries throughout his career. He's come back, started this season really well. It must have been pleasing to see him pick up a 4-for in that first innings.
Yeah, he's a very talented young fast bowler. We know that he burst on the scene. T20, he's got a 100 deal. We know the talent's there, and obviously the last couple of years have been tough for him physically. And to see him go away this winter, have a good winter under his belt, playing lots of cricket, and then come back in the form that he's in at the moment, has been really good for everybody to see. And look, he's not the finished article yet. He's got stuff that he's still working on, but yeah, it looks in a good place and really competing well.
I guess as head coach, one of the things you really want is for everyone in the group to stick their hands up and start contributing. And it was nice, of course, with the bat to see Jack Davies hit an unbeaten 47 in the first innings, Esky with a 50 in the second innings, and you mentioned Zafar with the ball, but it was Zafar with the bat who obviously hit a really important 50 in the second innings as well. So great to see people sticking their hands up.
Yeah, I think we're getting to a point now in a squad. I think I've talked about competition for places, and it creates an environment where when you're playing, you've got to do well to stay in the team. And we've talked about when you're out the side, performing in the second team and outside of the game to get in the first team. And I think we're getting to that point now. And the nice thing about the first team at the moment is you're not relying on 1 or 2 batters in that group, because you know that someone's going to stand up and take responsibility in the lineup. And probably the 2 guys that scored the most runs last year in terms of Dupper and Higo haven't got going yet either. So it's quite a nice way that that they're on on the periphery of it, and you know they're going to come good as well because of the quality they've got. So yeah, from a batting point of view, we're definitely in a good space. We had probably a poorer game with the ball than we had at Lancs. Lancs I thought was excellent the way that we went about our work. As a blueprint, the Lancashire game I thought was amazing. You know, 5 bowlers all running in, bowling accurately, never letting the batsman get away. I thought was brilliant. We weren't quite at that level in the last game for various reasons. You'll have to ask the bowlers for that. But I think the Kent slope messed up a couple of them, which is a bit of a strange one because we have our own slope, but it's a slightly different one at Kent. Yeah. And I think it ruined a couple of the rhythms of a couple of the lads. But that's professional sport, and you've got to deal with that and learn and adapt to those conditions. So yes, we were a bit poorer with the ball this week, but I know the boys are desperate to put that right this week against Glamorgan.
I suppose we get a huge lift from Dane Paterson arriving. I think I had this conversation with Rojo after the Lancs game, and we were expecting him to arrive for that Kent game. Unfortunately, a family situation back home in South Africa delayed that, but I think I'm right in saying he's landed now. He's in the UK, so he'll be in contention, and I assume will be set to start against Glamorgan here, and that'll give some of the boys a bit of a rest, and it'll give the attack a bit of a freshen up.
Yeah, he's good to go as far as I'm aware. Haven't spoken to him yet, as you say. I think he's due to land quite soon. He gave me the thumbs up and said he's on the plane last night, so all good. Thing. Yeah, all good. And he just can't wait to get here and get started. Yeah. He knows he's obviously a bit delayed, and he really wants to be here with the boys and to get going. And I know, you know, we've got a couple of games at Lord's coming up, so I'm sure he'll be loving every second of that. And I know he'll, you know, bowl well here. And yeah. And yes, it's a chance to rotate a little bit of one of our seamers out. And we're getting to that point now where I think we had it a few years back where you can rotate seamers a little bit. It's not about being left out. It's not about being dropped. It's just about managing a long season, heavy workload, and being able to pull someone out and just give them that extra week, get them ticking over, and then come back in the week after. You know, is quite helpful.
A little look ahead to Glamorgan, who obviously arrive here on Friday. Another tough challenge. What are your hopes for that one?
My hopes, win the game, isn't it? I mean, that's good hope. That's the hope. No, Glamorgan are always tough. They've got some good players in their lineup, but we're at home. We've got a good record at Lord's at home over the last few years, and we know that if we keep playing the way we've been playing, you know, the tide will turn, and we as long as we are aware of the key moments in the game, that we can really put pressure on the opposition in those key moments, then, you know, we hope that we'll come out the right side, definitely.
I guess it'll be some kind of blessing to all spectators and members watching that we aren't playing this one with the Kookaburra ball, because I think last year we watched Sam North East bat for a day and a half. But with the Dukes, I guess it'll be a very different contest. And you mentioned Dane obviously getting his opportunity here. He'll be looking forward to that one and relishing the opportunity, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe not quite so much if it was a Kookaburra, but no, he's absolutely relishing it, and we felt last week before here against Lancs, that was a brilliant cricket wicket for us. I think that's as good a wicket here as you can produce. I mean, something in it for everyone. If you put the ball in the right place, you know, you were in it with the ball. If you missed, the batsmen were in. You know, Zaf came into it later on. I thought it was a brilliant cricket wicket, and hopefully, you know, we're looking for the same again.
Absolutely. Well, that'll make for a fantastic contest ahead. John, all the very best of luck. Thanks again for joining us. Hopefully the next 4 days will give us the rewards we now deserve, and look forward to catching up after that one.
Pleasure.